Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. Today, again, we have with us an art of living expert and an officer of the Vedic themselves. And today, we are going to discuss how the practices of the art of living can be applied in our day-to-day life. For example, when we feel everything we have lost, just like from the movie Batman Begins, when Bruce Wayne lost his Wayne Manor, or in real life, maybe someone like a Steve Jobs who was ousted from his own company, and how art of living techniques and processes and courses and programs can help us withstand such hard times. So let's begin. So when Bruce Wayne lost Wayne Manor, it was a symbol of everything collapsing. How can we see this as a metaphor for life? Jayadev. So when Bruce Wayne watched his ancestral home burn to ashes, he wasn't just losing property, he was losing identity, comfort, and history. In life, too, we all face moments when our inner manner collapses: a job, loss, a broken relationship, or a health crisis. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji says, everything in life changes. The only thing constant is your inner strength. Through Sudarshan Kriya and Sadhana, one learns to access that calm center within. The outer world may crumble, but the inner silence remains unshaken. That's where rebuilding begins, not from despair, but from awareness. Wayne Manor was rebuilt brick by brick. Similarly, our life is rebuilt breath by breath through sadhana. Now, Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple, his own creation. What lesson does that carry for modern seekers? Jobs' ouster was his great Agni Pariksha. He created something extraordinary, then was forced to let it go, only to return later with a greater vision. The Vedic tradition calls this tapas the fire that refines the seeker and builds the character. Gurudev often says, when everything seems lost, that's when your real growth begins. Steve Jobs' time at Next and Pixar was his tapasya, just as exile was for Rama. In those years of struggle, creativity and surrender matured. Similarly, when we face setbacks, we must not see them as punishment but purification. Through Agni Karyam and Gayatri Japa, one learns to convert pain into power, to transform adversity into sacred energy. Jobs didn't collapse, he transformed like a gold refined in fire. Now, how does one cultivate that Bruce Wayne like resilience in everyday life? The resilience is not inherited, it is cultivated through discipline. Bruce Wayne trained his mind and body long before he wore the mask. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji emphasizes the same principle. Sadhana, regular practice, is what keeps you strong before life's battles. Whether through Padma Sadhana, Sudarshan Kriya, or Trikal Sandhya, daily inner alignment strengthens the nervous system and emotional stability. When tragedy strikes, we don't shatter, we bend and rise. In Wayne's story, Alfred was his guiding light. In our life, the Guru Tattva plays that role. The presence of a guru gives courage when the world turns dark. Resilience is not about fighting pain, it's about transcending it with awareness. So, how can we compare Alfred's faith in Bruce with the Guru's guidance in a seeker's journey? Jagadav, Alfred never gave up on Bruce. Even when Bruce doubted himself, Alfred's calm faith became his anchor. That is precisely what the Guru's present does in our spiritual evolution. In Guru Puja, we acknowledge that our limited mind cannot always see the whole picture, but the Guru can. The Guru doesn't fight our battles but awakens the strength within us to fight back. When His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji says, the Guru's job is to remind you of your infinite potential. Just as Alfred reminded Bruce, why do we fall so that we can learn to pick ourselves up? The Guru reminds us through grace and wisdom that failure is not the end, it's a bend leading to awakening. When the faith in the Guru becomes the bridge between despair and victory. Now, Bruce Wayne rebuilt a Wayne Manor brick by brick. How can spiritual practices help us rebuild our life the same way? Rather, when life breaks, people often try to rebuild everything externally, new job, new city, new relationship. But real rebuilding begins internally through Sudarshan Kriya. We cleanse layers of emotional dust. Through Seva, we reconnect with purpose. Through Satsang, we regain joy. Gurudev says Seva connects you to abundance, Satsang connects you to joy, and Sadhana connects you to yourself. Together, they are the bricks of a new life. Brick by brick means moment by moment, rebuilding not through force, but through patience and faith. Just as Bruce restored each section of the manor carefully, we restore each aspect of ourselves, our body, mind, and soul, through dedicated practice and divine remembrance. Now, Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. How does it align with art of living philosophy? That statement reflects deep vairagya or detachment. Gurudev often says faith is knowing that the dots will connect. When Jobs was fired, he didn't know that next would later merge into Apple, yet his surrender to the process allowed divine intelligence to operate. In spiritual life, the same happens. We do our sadhana, seva, and puja with sincerity, not knowing when the results will bloom. The trikalsana and the Gayatri Japa attune our mind to higher rhythm, teaching patience and trust. In Vedic terms, the fruit of karma or phala is not ours to control. Our effort or karma yoga is the art of living path helps us act fully, surrender totally, and watch life reconnect the dots in divine timing. Now, what does this phrase brick by brick spiritually symbolize? The spiritually brick by brick means mindful reconstruction. In Sanskrit, the term Shraddha means that which is built with sincerity. Every breath in Sudarshan Kriya is a brick, a small act of healing. Every Gayatri mantra is a brick, restoring light to our inner temple. Every act of seva is a brick, building compassion. The process may be slow, but it's strong because it is conscious. Gurudev teaches that transformation isn't sudden, it's layered with architecture. Bruce Wayne didn't rush, he rebuilt with intention. That's the secret of spiritual rebirth: consistency, patience, and deep faith. That each small act contributes to the larger structure of one's destiny. Now, when everything is destroyed, where should one start? The rebuilding from heart or the mind or the action. From silence, that's the foundation. In Padma Sadhana, the lotus posture itself symbolizes rising from mud into bloom. After collapse, our first need is not action but stillness. Through meditation, we touch that sacred silence where new ideas take birth. Then, with clarity comes wise action. Gurudev says, when the mind is silent, intuition blossoms. Steve Jobs' creative breakthroughs came after solitude. Bruce Wayne found his strength in the cave. In the Vedic ritual, every Agni Karyam begins with stillness, the pause before invoking fire. The heart aligns, the mind focuses, and then hands act. So start from silence, everything else follows naturally like a seed sprouting after the storm. How does Seva help in rebuilding our confidence after failure? Like the seva shifts the focus from me to we. After a loss, the mind becomes self centered. My pain, my failure, my suffering. Gurudev's wisdom shows that healing begins when we serve others. When Bruce lost his family, his life's purpose became protecting Gotham. That was his seva. Similarly, Steve Jobs' purpose was creating technology that serves humanity. Seva brings dignity to pain and converts it into compassion. When you volunteer, teach, or help, energy flows again. That stagnation of sorrow dissolves. Gurudev says, don't sit with your problems, get up and help someone. In that act, you rediscover strength you thought was gone. Service is the most beautiful way to rebuild the self. Now, what is the role of hope in this process of rebuilding? Now, the hope is the hidden mantra of every rebirth. In the Vedas, it is called Asha, the sacred optimism. Without it, neither Bruce Wayne nor Steve Jobs could have returned. Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji says, faith is seeing light with your heart when your eyes see darkness. In the Gayatri Japa, each repetition is a spark of hope, invoking illumination after darkness. In Trikalsandhya, we worship the three times, the past, present, and future, recognizing that even the night surrenders to dawn. Hope is not passive waiting, it's an active trust. When we live with the Guru's guidance, hope transforms from a fragile wish into a living force that pulls us upward brick by brick towards our higher destiny. Now, how does the Sudarshan Kriya help a person recover from emotional collapse like Bruce Wayne after his trauma? Sudarshan Kriya is the master key to emotional healing. Bruce Wayne faced intense trauma, the death of his parents, guilt, and isolation. In our world, people face heartbreak, career loss, or betrayal. The breath holds all those impressions. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji says every emotion has a corresponding rhythm in breath. Sudarshan Kriya resets that rhythm. The deep cyclical breathing pattern washes the mind like rain cleans dust. After a few days of practice, anxiety gives way to calmness. Grief gives way to gratitude. That inner peace is the foundation of resilience. Just as Bruce rebuilt Wayne Manor brick by brick, Sudarshan Gray helps rebuild the nervous system breath by breath. With each session, you reclaim energy, confidence, and emotional clarity, the real bricks of inner strength. Now, what does seva mean in the context of rebuilding life after loss? Now, the seva means selfless service, but in truth, it's sacred reconstruction after destruction. Seva channels our energy toward creation. Further teaches seva is not doing something for others, it's doing something for yourself. When one serves, the heart opens and the sorrow melts into strength. In the Vedic culture, after any calamity, war, famine, or natural disaster, communities rebuild temples and homes together through the Shramdan. This collective seva purified minds and renewed hope. Similarly, Bruce Wayne's commitment to protect Gotham was his form of seva. When one gives back, whether by teaching, volunteering, or offering prayer, divine energy begins to flow. Life starts moving again. Seva transforms pain into purpose, loneliness into love, and despair into dynamism. Now, how does a satsang contribute to inner rebuilding? Now, the satsang literally means company of truth. When one's world falls apart, the biggest danger is isolation. The mind becomes a dark alley of thoughts. Satsang fills that space with light. When we sing, meditate, and listen to wisdom together, our vibration rises. Gurudev says satsang is like sunlight. No matter how thick the fog, it will clear. Bruce Wayne had Alfred and later Lucius Fox. His satsang of support and clarity. Steve Jobs had his inner circle at next in satsang. Even a broken heart starts to dance again. The energy of collective devotion ignites the flame of faith. It's not about escaping pain, it's about dissolving it in higher vibration. Satsang rebuilds the heart through joy. Now, how can one maintain discipline and consistency while rebuilding their life? The discipline or anushasana is the skeleton of reconstruction. Without structure, even a strong spirit falters. Gurudev often reminds us a sadhana is not just doing something where every day, it is remembering who you are every day. Padma sadhana and daily sandhya rituals create a rhythm that keeps life steady. When you commit to regular practice, even when the motivation is low, it builds the inner muscle. Bruce Wayne's entire transformation into Batman was built on discipline, physical and mental. Likewise, in the Vedic path, the daily Gayatri Japa, Agnihotra, or meditation builds unseen strength. When effort becomes consistent, grace begins to flow. Discipline doesn't confine you, it liberates you from chaos. Brick by brick, day by day, routine becomes resilience. How can meditation help one reconnect with purpose after failure? After failure, the mind is filled with noise, regret, guilt, what ifs. Meditation quiets that noise and stillness, clarity emerges. Gurudev says the purpose of life is to serve and smile. You can only serve when your mind is still. Meditation connects you to your higher purpose beyond circumstances. Bruce Wayne discovered his purpose in the silence of the cave. Steve Jobs rediscovered his in solitude after Apple. Meditation aligns us with the infinite intelligence of the universe. The purpose doesn't come as a sentence, it comes as an experience of fulfillment. From that fullness, right action arises spontaneously. Rebuilding begins when you are no longer chasing meaning, you are living it naturally from your center. Now, in what ways does the Guru's grace accelerate the rebuilding process? Neither the Guru's grace or the Guru Kripa is like the foundation stone, invisible but unshakable. Without it, reconstruction lacks direction. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji radiates compassion that dissolves karmic heaviness and ignites innocence. When you surrender to the Guru, you're not giving up effort, you are aligning with divine intelligence. It's like a compass during a stormy rebuilding. Even Bruce Wayne had mentors like Ras Al Ghul showed him strength, but Alfred gave him wisdom. In the Vedic path, the Guru Puja honors this relationship, acknowledging that the light of wisdom flows through the Guru to the seeker. Under grace, time shortens, healing happens. What takes years through struggle can happen in moments through surrender. Now, what is the role of forgiveness in rebuilding one's life? The forgiveness is a demolition before reconstruction. You cannot rebuild a house if the ruins of resentment still stand. Gurudev says forgiveness is freedom for you, not the other. When we hold grudges, our energy remains stuck in the past. Sudarshan Kriya and meditation soften the heart, making forgiveness natural. Bruce Wayne forgave the world that took his parents. That's what allowed him to serve it. As Steve Jobs forgave those who betrayed him. And that freedom powered his creative genius. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, it means letting go of emotional weight. It's like clearing debris before laying a new foundation. Once the heart forgives, peace rushes in and life rebuilds effortlessly. Now, how do ancient Vedic rituals support psychological healing and renewal? The Vedic rituals are deeply symbolic technologies of transformation. In Agni Karam, we offer ghee and rains to fire not just as ritual, but as a reminder to offer our pain, anger, and fear into divine energy. Fire purifies both matter and mind. Similarly, the Gayatri Japa illuminates the intellect. Each mantra cleanses subconscious impressions. Gurudev teaches that these ancient rituals are not superstitions but subtle sciences. They align the individual's vibration with the cosmic order or rhythm. When the mind is aligned with nature, healing happens naturally. In psychological terms, rituals offer structure, community, and continuity, essential for rebuilding identity. They remind us that destruction is never final. From the ashes of the Homa, new life always emerges. Now, why is gratitude important while starting again from zero? Now, the gratitude is the seed that grows even in barren soil. Gurudev says, when you are grateful, abundance follows. After a collapse, we usually focus on what is lost. Gratitude shifts our vision to what remains. Bruce Wayne still had Alfred, his purpose as well. Steve Jobs still had his intellect and creativity. Gratitude rewires the brain for positivity. Every morning in Padma Sadhana and Sandhya Vandanam, we express gratitude to the five elements and to the divine. This daily acknowledgement fills the heart with contentment. Gratitude is not denial of pain, it's remembrance of grace amidst pain. It invites more strength, more support, and more opportunities. Gratitude is the divine motor holding the bricks of our new life together. Now, how can young people today apply these teachings to their personal failures or career setbacks? The young people today face intense competition and pressure. When failure comes, many crumble because they have built identity only on success. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji gives a broader perspective. You are not what you achieve, you are infinite consciousness. This shift is liberating. When a student fails an exam or loses a job, the first step is to breathe, meditate, and return to the present. Then, through seva, channel energy outward, attend satsang, do sadhana daily, and seek guidance from elders and modern Alfreds, just like Bruce Wayne and Steve Jobs. Use setbacks as fuel. Youth must use pain as a teacher. Rebuilding life isn't about erasing mistakes, it's about learning, evolving, and shining brighter through them. Now, how do art of living courses practically train one to face life's breakdowns? Now, the art of living courses are like the architect's manual for life. The happiness program teaches breath mastery and emotional balance. The silence retreat helps one observe the mind's patterns. The DSN or the Divya Samaj Ka Nirvan ignites courage and purpose. Gurudev says, when you are strong inside, no outer challenge can shake you. The design of these programs mirrors the process of rebuilding. First, clear the rubble, stress relief, then lay the foundation of meditation. Finally, decorate the house with service and joy. Participants often come broken and leave glowing. The practical tools from Sudarshan Priya to Seva projects give one the same inner discipline which Bruce Wayne learned through years of training, but in a peaceful and joyous way. The result is unshakable confidence. Now, how does the Padma Sadhana contribute to stability and emotional grounding? Now, the Padma Sadhana, the lotus practice, integrates asanas, pranayama, and meditation in a sequence designed by Gurudev. It connects the physical, mental, and spiritual dimensions of being. Emotionally, it grounds you. Each posture strengthens the spine and balances energy flow. In the symbolism of the lotus, one learns that beauty can bloom even from mud. After destruction, the mind feels muddy with doubt and grief. The Padma Sadhana lifts you above it when practiced regularly. It enhances clarity, patience, and poise, qualities essential for rebuilding. In Vedic tradition, physical alignment mirrors mental order. Thus, Padma Sadhana becomes both architecture and therapy, reconstructing the temple of the body where the spirit resides. Now, what inner transformation happens when one starts doing Guru Puja regularly? The Guru Puja is not just a ritual, it's a remembrance. It's a moment when the seeker dissolves the ego and acknowledges the lineage of wisdom flowing through time. Gurudev says gratitude to the Guru opens the floodgates of grace. When one performs the Guru Puja, the heart melts in humility. The sense of I am doing disappears and divine support begins to operate. In rebuilding life, ego often becomes the biggest obstacle. I will fix it myself. Guru Puja teaches surrender. I am guided. Bruce Wayne's transformation happened only after surrendering anger to a higher cause. Similarly, when we surrender through puja, healing becomes effortless, guided by unseen hands of grace. Now, how do daily rituals like Trikal Sandhya maintain mental balance during tough times? Now, the Trikal Sandhya, the prayers at dawn, noon, and dusk synchronize us with cosmic rhythm. Each period of day carries specific energy. Morning inspires creativity, noon demands focus, and evening brings reflection. Regular Sandhya keeps the mind tuned like a well calibrated instrument. Gurudev explains prayer is not asking for something, it's aligning with the divine. In times of uncertainty, this alignment keeps the nervous system stable. It's like daily maintenance for the soul, just as Bruce Wayne maintained physical discipline to be ready for any challenge. Sandhya maintains spiritual readiness. Even 5 minutes of devotion 3 times a day acts as anchor, a sacred pause, reminding us that divine order continues even when life seems chaotic. Now, can you explain how the concept of Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2 helps us manage desires and distractions while rebuilding? Now, the Sanyam means moderation, mastery, not suppression. After collapse, the mind often seeks escape in excess, overwork, entertainment, or emotional dependence. Gurudev's Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2 teaches conscious restraint and channeling energy into higher creativity. It includes fasting, silence, mindful living, and meditation. The result is clarity. In that clarity, one distinguishes between what truly matters and what is noise. Bruce Wayne's power came from focus, no indulgence, only purpose. Likewise, Steve Jobs' minimalist lifestyle reflected Sanyam. Simplicity sharpened his creativity through Sanyam sadhana of level 1 and level 2. Desires become fuel rather than bondage. It's about transforming craving into concentration. Only a focused mind can rebuild anything lasting, be it a company, a home, or one's spiritual self. Now, how does a Bruce Wayne's decision to rebuild it brick from brick symbolize a human spirit's power to rise again? The line rebuild it brick for brick from Batman Begins is profoundly symbolic. When Wayne Manor is burned down, Bruce doesn't crumble under loss. Instead, he rebuilds it, not only his house but also his identity. Similarly, in life, when everything seems destroyed, our dreams, relationships, our careers, that's when our inner strength is tested. His holiness, Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar often says, when you lose everything, that is when the divine starts working through you. Through Sudarshan Kriya and meditation, we purify the mind of pain and regain clarity. In the Vedic philosophy, the spirit is called Uttishta Purusha, the awakened one who rises after every fall. The rituals like Agni Karyams or the Gayatri Japa rekindle the fire of determination within. The brick by brick, thought by thought, and karma by karma, we reconstruct a dharmic life. What Wayne did outwardly, the Seeker does inwardly, restoring the temple of consciousness. So, how can someone who has lost everything practically begin their rebuilding journey? Start small, take one break, one good habit, one positive thought, and one round of deep breathing. Gurudev teaches the transformation begins with rhythm, the breath is rhythm. Through Sudarshan Kriya, you synchronize your inner rhythm with the cosmic rhythm, bringing clarity and courage to act. In the Vedic path, we begin with the Trikal Sandhya, the morning, noon, and evening connection with the divine. When you bow to the sun and chant Gayatri Mantra, your mind receives light and order just as Steve Jobs started next from scratch. These daily rituals help you start your next chapter. Now, Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward." How does this connect to surrender and spirituality? Because that quote reflects pure surrender. Gurudev says, surrender is not giving up, it's giving in to the flow of life. Jobs didn't know how his setbacks would lead to Apple's rebirth, but he trusted life. When we practice meditation, we stop resisting uncertainty. We allow the universe to connect the dots for us. In Sanatana Dharma, surrender is called Ishwar Pranidhana. You perform your duty but let go of attachment to results. Fire rituals like Agni Karyam and Homas are symbolic acts of surrender. We offer our fears, ego, and expectations to the fire. When you surrender like that, every instruction becomes a new design. So, how can sadhana, seva, and satsang together help a person rebuild after failure? Sadhana gives strength, seva gives purpose, and satsang gives joy. These are the three are the foundation bricks of a spiritual reconstruction. When you meditate daily, your inner foundation becomes strong. When you serve others, your heart opens, and when you join satsang, the music and knowledge to solve sorrow. This triad ensures that you don't rebuild only your outer success but your inner wholeness. In Vedic life, this is similar to the three ratna or the karma or action, jnana or knowledge, and bhakti or devotion. Together, they align you with dharma. When a person aligns with dharma, rebuilding becomes effortless because divine support flows naturally. Now, what role does the Guru's grace play in rebuilding a shattered life? Guru's grace is the silent architect behind every reconstruction. Gurudev often says, grace is that which lifts you when your own effort is not enough. Like Alfred to Bruce Wayne, the Guru silently supports, reminding you of your strength. When you take the Guru Puja with sincerity, you invoke that same guiding energy within. In the Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru is not just a teacher but the one who illumines the darkness. Every ritual, be it Upanayanam, the Gayatri initiation, or the Agni Homa, begins by invoking the Guru. Grace transforms loss into learning. Under the Guru's light, the ashes of failure become the fertile ground of wisdom, and from that, a new life, a new vain manner arises. So, how does the Sudarshan Kriya help in rebuilding one's mental and emotional foundation after a crisis? There, the Sudarshan Kriya is a cornerstone of inner reconstruction. It harmonizes our breath with the natural rhythms of life. After failure or heartbreak, the breath becomes erratic, the mind repeats negative thoughts. Through rhythmic breathing, toxins, both physical and emotional, are released. The result is clarity, calmness, and renewed energy. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji says, when the breath moves right, the mind becomes light. Rebuilding begins here. In Vedic science, the breath or the prana is the bridge between the body and the soul. Kriya is a modern expression of the pranayama sadhana. When prana flows freely, courage and creativity return. Like rebuilding a house brick by brick, we rebuild our mind breath by breath. Now, why is it necessary to first rebuild the mind before rebuilding the external life? Together, every outer creation begins as an inner thought. If the mind is disturbed, even good plans collapse through meditation and sadhana. We purify thought patterns. Gurudev teaches you can't fight darkness, you only need to bring light. Calmness is that light. Once the mind is clear, the right opportunities and people naturally align with your purpose. In the Mana Shastra, it is said, Yad Bhavan Tad Bhavati, as is your feeling, so becomes your world. The Vedas call this the Manas Yagya, offering negativity in the fire of awareness. When you do Sandhya Vandanam or Gayatri Japa, you refine the mind's vibrations, preparing it to create again. Now, how can meditation help someone and people who feel broken like Bruce Wayne or Steve Jobs once did? Yeah, the meditation reconnects you with your unbroken self. Bruce Wayne meditated in shadows. Steve Jobs practiced Zen. Gurudev says guided meditation. So the Sat Samadhi meditation bring one to the same silence where the mind stops running after the past or future. In that stillness, you realize that you were never broken, only your perceptions were. In the Upanishads, meditation is described as the Atma Darshanam, seeing oneself. Fire rituals, the Gayatri Japa, and the Dhyana serve this purpose. You move from Ahankara or ego to Atman or pure being. When the soul is seen clearly, rebuilding becomes joyful play, not struggle. Now, how does Seva or selfless service accelerate the process of rebuilding after failure? Jagudev, Seva takes us out of self pity and connects us with collective energy. When you serve others, your pain dissolves. Gurudev says the best way to help rid of misery is to look at who you can help. Many participants, after losing jobs or relationships, find strength again by volunteering in art of living projects. Service restores purpose, the strongest foundation brick. In Vedic, like Seva is part of Karma Yoga, whether feeding the poor, helping in temple duties, or teaching children. Seva cleanses the karmic impressions. The sankalpa you take before every puja reminds you, may all beings be happy. That expands your heart beyond personal loss. Now, why does Gurudev emphasize both action and silence in the rebuilding process? Yes, Gurudev, action without silence leads to exhaustion. Silence without action leads to stagnation. Gurudev's approach unites both. Meditation gives inner energy and service channels it outward, just as Bruce Wayne balanced introspection in the cave with action as Batman. We too must alternate between rest and movement. This balance is the Karma Dhyana Samyoga of the Gita. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, act but stay centered. That's the art of living way too. Through Trikal Sandhya and mindful karma, we rebuild both your inner and outer worlds with divine alignment. Now, how can one deal with the fear of starting over again? Yeah, the fear is natural when you stand before ruins, but Gurudev says, when you realize the strength of your spirit, fear vanishes through pranayama. Fear dissolves because breath controls emotion. Regular Padma sadhana stabilizes the nervous system and builds confidence. The Vedas describe fear as avidya, ignorance of your own power. The Agni Karma, the daily fire ritual, burns this ignorance. When you chant Gayatri Mantra with focus, light replaces fear. That's why we call it the Gayatri Shakti, the power to illuminate courage. Now, how important is daily discipline in rebuilding life? Yeah, the discipline is a love in action. The mind seeks comfort in chaos, but daily sadhana, even for 20 minutes, builds structure. Gurudev reminds us discipline is not rigidity, it is the rhythm of freedom. Whether it's morning breathing, journaling, or prayer, repetition creates resilience. Vedic life thrives on discipline, the nitya karma, or the daily duties like Sandhya Vandanam, all lighting the lamp and thus synchronize life with the cosmic order. When you honor routine, nature honors you back with its strength and clarity. Now, why is it said that one should celebrate even failure? Neither because failure breaks ego and opens wisdom. Gurudev laughs and says, you celebrate success because it gives you joy. Celebrate failure because it gives you depth. Every time you fail, a layer of illusion falls. Once you see life as a play of learning, you become fearless. In Vedic Darshana, we call this the Ananda in Tapasya, joy in discipline. Even in fire, the sage smiles. When you perform Homa after a difficult event, you are symbolically saying, let this be my offering, not my burden, that transforms suffering into sanctity. Now, how can music and satsang help in emotional recovery and rebuilding hope? The satsang is medicine for the heart, the rhythm, singing, and knowledge uplift emotions instantly. Gurudev says music is that which unites sound and silence. When people sing together, individual sorrow dissolves into collective joy. It's a healing in motion. In temples, chanting and bhajans serve the same purpose. The sound of the nada is divine vibration. When you chant an Om Namah Shivaya or the Gayatri Japa, your cells realign with peace. Rebuilding begins in that vibration of harmony. Now, what is the role of faith when everything around seems lost? Now, the faith is the bridge between destruction and rebirth. Gurudev says, even in the darkest night, know that the sun will rise. Faith gives the courage to take one more step with meditation and prayer. It becomes unshakable. In the Vedas, faith is Shraddha. It's not blind belief, but trust born of experience. When you light the Agni each morning, you are affirming light will come again. That daily ritual plants faith into subconsciousness, the first seed of any rebuilding. Now, how does the Padma Sadhana contribute to the process of rebuilding one's inner stability? Now, the Padma Sadhana, designed by His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, is a graceful blend of yoga, breath, and meditation. Each posture strengthens both body and mind, preparing us to handle challenges with a balance. When you hold a pose, you also learn to hold patience. The essence of rebuilding. After loss, people often feel physically weak and emotionally unstable. The Padma Sadhana restores grounding. Gurudev says, when your body becomes steady, your mind follows. This steadiness becomes the first brick in the structure of renewal. In Vedic symbolism, the lotus of the Padma grows beautifully even in muddy waters. The Padma Sadhana reminds us that purity can bloom even amid adversity. Ancient rishis performed the asanas before yajnas to channel energy upward. Similarly, this practice prepares a seeker's system to receive divine guidance while rebuilding. How can gratitude transform the process of recovery and rebuilding? Negative gratitude shifts our perception from lack to abundance. Gurudev often says, what you appreciate grows even in hardship. When we thank life for lessons learned, the heart opens. Gratitude dissolves resentment, the heaviest stone blocking our growth. Writing a daily gratitude journal or expressing thanks in prayer accelerates healing. The Vedas begin and end with gratitude. Om Shanti 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 is a thanksgiving for peace in all realms. When you offer food, water, or mantra with gratefulness, you align with universal generosity. That alignment invites prosperity back brick by brick. Now, how can one maintain consistency in sadhana when life feels chaotic? Jagadev, the mind says, I will meditate when things settle, but Gurudev says, meditate so that things can settle. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing daily anchors the mind. Consistency matters more than duration. Over time, sadhana becomes a habit like brushing your teeth. You do it regardless of circumstances. In the Sandhya Vandanam tradition, prayers are done thrice a day, morning, noon, and evening, no matter what. This discipline trains the mind to stay devoted despite chaos. When you make sadhana your companion, chaos loses control over you. Now, how does the art of living view forgiveness in the journey of rebuilding? Therefore, forgiveness is the most liberating step. Gurudev says, holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal. It burns only you through meditation and kriya. Suppressed emotions surface and dissolve naturally. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting it, it means freeing yourself from the burden of the past. When you forgive, the heart becomes light, ready to love and rebuild. In the Vedas, forgiveness is Shama, a divine virtue attributed even to the gods. Fire rituals often end with the mantra Shamasava, forgive me if I erred. It cleanses the subconscious of guilt and resentment. A purified mind can rebuild a pure life. Now, what happens when we see rebuilding not as a duty but as a spiritual journey? Rather than every act becomes sacred, rebuilding is no longer about fixing the outer world. It's about rediscovering the inner temple. Gurudev says, this life is for awakening. Every challenge is an invitation. When you walk the path with awareness, even struggle becomes meditation. Each brick you place becomes a prayer of perseverance. Vedic life teaches the yajna spirit living as a sacred offering. Whether you are restoring a home, career, or relationship, if it is done with devotion, it becomes a form of worship. Like Steve Jobs refined Apple with devotion to design, a spiritual seeker refines life with devotion to dharma. Both paths meet in excellence born from awareness. Now, how does the Gayatri Mantra help a person rebuild focus and clarity in life? Therefore, the Gayatri Mantra is like sunlight from the mind. When recited daily with devotion, it purifies thoughts and reawakens the inner brilliance. Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji often says, the mind is like a lens. When dusty, it distorts. When clear, it reflects truth. The Gayatri clears that lens. For someone recovering from failure or confusion, chanting Gayatri brings mental light, discipline, and intuition. The Gayatri is called the Veda Mata, the mother of all Vedas. Its syllables invoke the divine energy of Savitar or the sun, illuminating intellect and destiny. Chanting it at sunrise, noon, and sunset, it recalls and reveals focus. When the inner sun rises, darkness of doubt vanishes, and the seeker moves with the conviction again. Now, what is the spiritual significance of Agni Karam and rebuilding inner purity and strength? Now, the fire symbolizes the transformation, just as Bruce Wayne emerged renewed after his trials. The Agni Karam transforms our limitations. When we offer ghee, grains, or mantra into the sacred fire, we are symbolically offering our ego, anger, and fear. Gurudev explains fire doesn't judge what you offer, it purifies it. The Agni Karam has been central to Vedic life since Rigvedic times. It sustains discipline, cleanliness, and devotion. Fire connects earth to heaven. It carries the prayers upward. Performing it daily or weekly rebuilds the subtle energy channels or nadis and sendens willpower. In every spark, the soul remembers its own radiance. Now, how does it recalls and they act as an anchor during life's storms? There, the tricals and the prayers at dawn, noon, and dusk brings rhythm and mindfulness. Gurudev says, when you honor the transitions of the day, you move in harmony with nature. Many people lose balance because they forget natural rhythms. These moments of pause recalibrate emotion and thought. In Vedic timekeeping, Sandhya marks the meeting points of day and night, moments of divine stillness. Chanting Gayatri or meditating during these junctions connects the microcosm to the macrocosm. Even if life feels chaotic, Sandhya acts like a spiritual GPS. It resets direction thrice a day. Now, can the rituals like a homa or a yagya really help in modern life reconstruction? Absolutely. The essence of yagya is offering. Gurudev says, when you offer your stress to the divine, it becomes smoke, not sorrow. Homas done with faith have profound psychological and energetic effects. They symbolize surrender, renewal, and blessing. The Vedas describe yagya as yajno vai viswasya bhutam. Yagya sustains the universe on an individual level. It realigns our energy with cosmic law or the Rita. Fire rituals purify space and consciousness. When Steve Jobs rebuilt Apple, he practiced intense focus. Yagya is the spiritual version of that focus, channeling energy toward creation. Now, what does Upanyanam symbolize in terms of spiritual rebirth? Yeah, the Upanyanam, the sacred thread initiation, is not just for children, it is symbolic for all spiritual seekers. Upa means near and Nayana means to lead. It signifies moving closer to knowledge, to the Guru, to light. Every time we rise after a fall, we undergo an inner Upanyanam, rebirth through awareness. Traditionally, the Guru gives the disciple the Gayatri mantra during Upanyanam, initiating them into conscious living. It's like upgrading your inner operating system. In times of loss, performing and recalling this initiation rekindles discipline and dharma. Rebirth is not about leaving life behind, it's about re-seeing it with the sacred eyes. Now, how does the practice of the Guru Puja strengthen the foundation of faith and surrender? Jagadev, Guru Puja is the heart of connection. When you chant the ancient mantras honoring the lineage, you dissolve individuality and feel supported by timeless wisdom. Gurudev says, surrender to the Guru principle and you will find yourself lifted effortlessly. It helps those rebuilding life to trust again in themselves and the universe. In Vedic culture, Guru Puja is central. The Guru represents the Brahma, which is creation, Vishnu is the sustenance, and Maheshwara, which is transformation. By invoking this trinity, one's life realigns to cosmic rhythm. Performing Guru Puja daily instills humility, which is the first pillar of rebuilding. Now, how does a Gayatri Japa create mental resilience? Similar to Bruce Wayne's inner training, just as Bruce trained his mind through focus and discipline, the Gayatri Japa trains the seeker to channel thought. Each repetition strengthens concentration. Gurudev often says, the mind becomes what it repeats. Chanting Gayatri repeatedly ingrains peace and clarity. The repetition of the japa activates the subtle sound waves that awaken the intellect, which is the Meda Shakti. Over time, this practice builds endurance, the power to face difficulties without inner collapse. Like a warrior sharpening his sword daily, japa polishes the intellect to cut through confusion. Now, how can the Upanishadic idea of a neti neti help in detachment while rebuilding? Jagat neti neti, not this, not this, frees the mind from over identification with the loss. Gurudev teaches that pain persists when we say, I am my failure. Through meditation, we realize we are not the story but the awareness behind it. That detachment gives freedom to start afresh. In Vedanta, detachment or vairagya is essential. Neti Neti helps us discard what is temporary and focus on the eternal self. This perspective makes every fall a lesson, not a verdict. Like Steve Jobs letting go of his ouster, the seeker learns that the loss of form is not the loss of essence. Now, what is the Vedic meaning of transformation through fire or Agni Parivartan? Gurudev often says, whatever you offer to fire comes back purified. Symbolically, every challenge is a personal fire. If faced with awareness, it refines you instead of consuming you. That's Agni Parivartan, the art of conscious burning. Fire in the Vedas is not just physical, it's a divine messenger or hota. When we light the sacred fire, we invoke the same transformative energy that renews nature after every storm. To regular Agnikara, once his life becomes a continual rebirth, a cycle of offering and blessing. Now, how can the tricals in there cultivate patience and balance? The three sandhyas create pauses that reset the nervous system. In those moments, breath and mind synchronize. Gurudev calls them the sacred checkpoints that prevent burnout. Rebuilding requires patience. These pauses restore perspective. The rishis align trikal sandhya with solar transitions. These times carry strong spiritual vibrations. Reciting Gayatri then steadies the mind and balances the doshas or the energetic imbalances. It's like tuning your instrument thrice a day before playing the symphony of life. Now, why are rituals important when modern people think they can rebuild with willpower alone? Now, the willpower is limited. Energy from collective consciousness is infinite. Rituals plug you into that collective power. Gurudev says rituals are love expressed through rhythm. They remind us we are part of something larger. The Vedas teach samskara or refinement to repeated sacred action. Rituals refine thought, speech, and intention. They stabilize emotions, transforming rebuilding into worship rather than mere effort. Now, how does the Guru Puja connect one to the lineage energy or the Parampara Shakti? Jagannatha, when you perform the Guru Puja, you are invoking the grace of thousands of enlightened beings who have walked this path before. Gurudev explains that grace is like a current. It flows to Parampara by remembering you reconnect. This gives unseen strength during hardship in the Vedas. Lineage is sacred mantras like Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara are not symbolic. They invoke cosmic archetypes of creation, sustenance, and transmission. To this remembrance, the seeker rebuilds not alone, but with the strength of an ancient river of wisdom. Now, how does the fire or the Agni represent both destruction and renewal, like the phoenix or Bruce Wayne's journey? Now, the Agni is dual destroyer and creator. Gurudev often draws this parallel. When ignorance burns, wisdom shines. Fire consumes the old, but its ashes nourish the new beginnings. Like the phoenix rising, each meditation session burns impressions of samskaras and awakens the freshness. Agni is the most invoked deity in the Rig Veda because it embodies transformation. Every destruction in life, whether external or emotional, is an Agni calling for rebirth. The seeker's duty is not to escape fire, but to enter it consciously and emerge as a mind. How can one integrate the ancient Vedic practices into a modern professional life? Together through simplicity, 5 minutes of Gayatri Japa before a work, a short meditation during lunch, and gratitude before sleep can transform a day. Gurudev's teachings are about bringing spirituality into action, not keeping it apart. The Vedas were never meant to be confined to temples. Lighting a lamp before your computer, chanting a mantra before meetings, or practicing mindful breathing during stress all are modern forms of yajna. When every action is conscious, every profession becomes sacred. Now, how does surrender to divine will ensure lasting success after rebuilding? Neither surrender aligns your actions with the universe. Gurudev says, do your best and leave the rest. When you stop clinging to control, creativity flows freely. Then rebuilding is not a struggle but a dance with destiny. The Vedas describe surrender as Ishva Pranidhana. It's the ultimate act of wisdom, trusting the cosmic order or Rita. When you surrender, divine grace takes over. The rebuilt life stands not on one's foundation, ego's foundation, but on Dharma's eternal ground. Now, how does the Trichalsanda contribute to rebuilding inner strength like Bruce Wayne's daily discipline or Steve Jobs' mindfulness? Jayadip Trichalsanda that tries daily practice of prayer and reflection aligns their energies with the rhythm of the cosmos, just as Bruce Wayne disciplined himself to train at dawn and Steve Jobs practiced deep meditation before major decisions. That Trichalsanda keeps one's inner system tuned. It balances the mind, body, and intellect at the three crucial junctions of the day of morning, noon, and evening. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji says that regularity in sadhana creates inner stability. When one bows to the divine thrice a day, the ego softens and intuition sharpens. This ritual becomes a constant reminder that no matter how chaotic the world seems, the light within can be rekindled again and again. In this way, like Bruce rebuilding the Wayne Manor or Steve Jobs rebuilding Apple after Pixar and next, one can rebuild one's emotional and spiritual mansion brick by brick, prayer by prayer. Now, what is the significance of Agni Karam or the fire ritual in the process of renewal and rebirth? Jagadev, Agni Karam, the sacred offering to fire, is symbolic of burning away impurities both within and without. Fire represents awareness, and when we make offerings into it, we symbolically release attachments, pain, and the ashes of the past. Bruce Wayne's fiery fall of the manor symbolizes the burning away of old identities. From that very destruction, a purified self emerges. Similarly, when Steve Jobs faced rejection, he allowed the fire of adversity to refine him, not consume him. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches that Agni is a purifier. The same flame that destroys also illuminates. Performing Agni Karam with sincerity invites that purifying energy into one's life. It teaches surrender that the past must burn for the new to rise. The art of living says homas like Sudarshan Homa or Navgraha Homa are extensions of this Vedic wisdom. They cleanse the atmosphere and mind. Thus, in every fire ritual lies the message: don't fear the fire of life, let it burn away your fears and light your path anew. Now, how can one use the Gayatri Japa to rebuild focus and clarity after personal or professional failure? Now, the Gayatri Japa is a chanting of the Gayatri Mantra, the oldest and the most potent invocation of the divine light, the Tat Savitur Varinyam. It prays for illumination of the intellect. After any fall or failure, the mind becomes clouded with confusion. The Gayatri Japa acts as the inner cleansing wind that clears that fog. Gurudev often says that mantra chanting refines the subtle vibrations of consciousness. Just as Bruce Wayne used a deep focus to rise beyond his trauma, and Steve Jobs used Zen awareness to realign his vision, the Gayatri Japa aligns one's energy with higher intelligence. When repeated with devotion, it reprograms the subconscious, replacing fear with faith and lethargy with clarity. Many art of living practitioners experience that regular Gayatri chanting sharpens memory, increases intuition, and rekindles enthusiasm. Like rebuilding a mansion brick by brick, a rebuilding focus happens repetition by repetition, breath by breath, mantra by mantra. Now, how does the Guru Puja practice help in rebuilding humility and strength simultaneously? Devadev Guru Puja is a sacred ceremony of gratitude towards the lineage of masters who preserve knowledge and light. It embodies surrender, the act of acknowledging that we are not alone in our rebuilding. Bruce Wayne, though powerful, found guidance in mentors like Russell Gould in the positive aspect of training, and Steve Jobs humbly sought wisdom from spiritual teachers and calligraphers in India. Similarly, the Guru Puja dissolves arrogance and invokes the strength that comes from humility. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches that when we bow down to the source of wisdom, grace flows and life reorganizes itself harmoniously. To the melodious chanting of Guru Parampara, the practitioners is reminded that every challenge is part of divine orchestration. The more one bows, the stronger one stands. This paradox of humility and power, exemplified by Bruce Wayne's self mastery and Steve Jobs' visionary simplicity, is the heart of spiritual rebuilding. Now, can Padma Sadhana support emotional rebuilding after setbacks? Yes, deeply so. Padma Sadhana, a graceful sequence of yoga postures designed by Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, harmonizes body, breath, and mind. Its name means the lotus practice, symbolizing purity rising from the mud. Every setback in life is like the mud that nourishes the lotus of consciousness. When practiced regularly, the Padma Sadhana releases emotional blocks, heals trauma, and grounds the practitioner in calm awareness. Bruce Wayne's recovery after his injuries and Steve Jobs' silent reflections after his ouster mirror this inner rebuilding. Stillness before resurgence, the Padma Sadhana combined with pranayama and meditation becomes the foundation of physical and emotional resilience. Gurudev often says the body is the temple of the spirit. When the temple is strong, the light within shines bright. Through Padma Sadhana, we don't escape pain, we transmute it. Each asana becomes a brick of mindfulness, each breath a prayer, rebuilding the mansion of peace within. Now, what is the spiritual symbolism of open enum in the context of rebuilding one's life? Now, the Upanayam, often referred to as a sacred thread ceremony, marks the initiation of a seeker into the path of knowledge and responsibility. Spiritually, it means being led closer to the light of wisdom. When life's structures collapse like Wayne Manor in Batman Begins or Steve Jobs' position at Apple, Upanayam reminds us to begin anew with purity and purpose. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji explains that every crisis is an opportunity for a higher initiation. The sacred thread or the Yajnopavita symbolizes connection to the Guru, the Vedas, and the divine. Wearing it is a reminder that the true rebuilding must be from within. Through disciplined living, mantra chanting, and introspection, one grows from dependence to inner mastery, just as Bruce Wayne's rebirth as Batman began after his training. The Upanayana marks the rebirth of awareness, declaration that one is ready to live a dharmic, disciplined, and selfless life. In rebuilding, the thread of faith and knowledge is the strongest foundation. Now, how does the Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 help cultivate control and focus when everything seems to fall apart? Now, the Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 means self control, and sadhana means dedicated to spiritual practice. Together, Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 cultivates mastery over one's senses, emotions, and impulses. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Avishankarji says that Sayam is not suppression but awareness, knowing when to act and when to be still. When Bruce Wayne trained in solitude, or when Steve Jobs stepped back to introspect before launching next. Both embodied the same sadhana of level 1 and level 2. It is this restraint and discipline that transforms chaos into clarity. In the art of living, Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 includes practices like silence programs, meditation retreats, and mindful living, all of which restore balance to the nervous system. Through stillness, we conserve the prana or the life force, which later manifests as creativity, strength, and intuitive intelligence. Rebuilding requires focused energy. Without Sayam, energy leaks through anger or distraction. Like the strong foundations of a rebuilt mansion, inner restraint provides stability to every new endeavor. Now, how does a Shakti Kriya awaken the energy needed to rebuild one's life? Now, the Shakti Kriya, a profound meditation process taught in the art of living, awakens the dormant energy within and channels it for healing and transformation. It connects the individual prana with the cosmic prana, revitalizing every cell of the body. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji describes the Shakti Kriya as a way to reset one's energy field, to clear emotional heaviness and ignite enthusiasm. Bruce Wayne's training scenes in Batman Begins, where he learns to master fear and use energy strategically, mirror the essence of the Shakti Kriya. Similarly, the Steve Jobs' ability to return to Apple with visionary intensity after years of silence reflects the reawakened Shakti. When energy flows freely, creativity and resilience arise naturally. The Shakti Kriya practitioners often describe feeling lighter, clearer, and more powerful after each session. Rebuilding after loss isn't about physical effort alone, it's about the reactivation of inner life force, and Shakti Kriya provides that ignition. Now, how can the Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 in Seva work together in the rebuilding process? The Sayam sadhana of level 1 and level 2 and Seva are two wings of spiritual evolution, the restraint and action. The Sayam draws energy inward while Seva expresses that energy outward in love and contribution. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches that one who serves selflessly remains untouched by exhaustion because service purifies the mind. After his setbacks, Steve Jobs rebuilt Apple not merely as a company but as a creative service to humanity, technology with heart. Likewise, Bruce Wayne had transformed his pain into service by protecting Gotham. When inner stillness or Sanyam meets outer compassion or Seva, rebuilding becomes effortless and graceful. The art of living encourages this balance through volunteerism, projects, and community work, where participants apply spiritual depth in practical life. Through Sanyam sadhana of level 1 and level 2, one strengthens the inner foundation through Seva. One builds the outer structure. Together, they complete the mansion of a meaningful life, strong from the inside and radiant from the outside. Now, how can one perform the daily Sandhya Vandanam and Gayatri Japa to maintain emotional stability like Bruce Wayne's discipline or Steve Jobs' clarity? Rather, the Sandhya Vandanam and the Gayatri Japa are daily anchors for the mind, designed to restore harmony amidst chaos. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji says that discipline in daily spiritual practices creates rhythm, and rhythm creates strength. When Bruce Wayne rebuilt Wayne Manor, Alfred reminded him to restore everything brick for brick, including the foundations. Similarly, daily spiritual routine rebuilds the inner architecture, one mantra at a time. The Sandhya Vandanam aligns the practitioner with the cycles of nature, invoking peace thrice a day. The Gayatri Japa polishes the intellect, keeping the mind luminous and alert. Together, they maintain balance through the highs and lows of rebuilding. Steve Jobs too credited his mindfulness and simplicity to daily meditative habits. These rituals remind us that consistency is greater than intensity. Through steady practice, the emotional storms settle and clarity dawns. Rebuilding then becomes not a task, but a natural blossoming of inner order and divine grace. Now, how can the philosophy of brick by brick from Batman Begins and Steve Jobs' journey be applied to everyday life through Gurudev's teachings? Neither the brick by brick philosophy symbolizes rebuilding life patiently with strength, awareness, and surrender. His Holiness Gurudev Shishya Vishankari says, do not be in a hurry to fix life. Allow life to flow and rebuild with awareness. When Bruce Wayne lost everything, he didn't succumb to despair. He began rebuilding with faith. Similarly, when Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple, he didn't stop creating. He built Next and Pixar. This slow, conscious rebuilding mirrors sadhana, seva, and satsang. In sadhana, we lay the inner foundation. In seva, we build walls of contribution. In satsang, we decorate life with joy. Every breath, action, and intention becomes a brick of spiritual strength. The Gurudev reminds us that destruction and creation are two sides of the same divine play. Just as a temple is reconstructed stone by stone, one can reconstruct life moment by moment with patience, gratitude, and trust in the Master's grace. Now, how can meditation help one rebuild emotional resilience after losing everything? Now, the meditation is the inner blueprint for rebuilding the self. When chaos strikes, the mind scatters into the past or future. Meditation gathers it back into the present moment, the only place where rebuilding begins. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar emphasizes that meditation connects us to the source of infinite strength. The Bruce Wayne withdrew into solitude to rediscover his purpose. Steve Jobs meditated to calm his creative mind and see clearly. Similarly, through practices like Sahat Samadhi meditation or Shakti Kriya, one experiences deep rest and emotional reset. The noise of loss quiets down and intuition awakens. From this silence, new ideas, relationships, and opportunities arise. Meditation teaches us that rebuilding doesn't begin in the outer world. It begins in consciousness. When peace returns to the heart, the external structure of success follows naturally. Now, how can satsang uplift a person who feels broken or defeated? Negative satsang, meaning the company of truth, is a powerful medicine for the wounded heart. When one feels broken, the collective energy of singing, meditation, and wisdom reawakens joy. His Holiness Gurudev Shishya Vishanti explains that in satsang, the individual merges with the universal, the loneliness dissolves into belonging. When Bruce Wayne lost his parents, he found strength in connection and purpose. When Steve Jobs was misunderstood, he sought clarity through spiritual company. Satsang reminds us that we are not alone. The divine energy and community are rebuilding with us. The vibrations of bhajans and mantras cleanse grief, while shared laughter and wisdom restore hope. Many who attend Art of Living Satsang say they rediscover enthusiasm after great losses. It's like being surrounded by loving builders who help lift each fallen brick of your life until the structure of joy stands tall again. Now, what role does seva play in transforming the pain into purpose? Now, the seva or selfless service is the alchemy that transforms pain into purpose. Gurudev teaches when you serve, your problems become smaller and your heart becomes vast. Bruce Wayne's transformation into Batman was service in disguise. His pain turned into protection for others. Similarly, Steve Jobs rebuilt Apple to serve creativity and humanity, not ego. When we channel our hurt into helping others, we shift from victimhood to empowerment. In Art of Living, Seva ranges from teaching, rural development, and tree planting to organizing satsangs and feeding the hungry. Through Seva, one experiences the truth that we are instruments, not owners of divine work. The energy that once went into worry now flows into creation. Thus, Seva doesn't just rebuild the world, it rebuilds the self brick by brick, act by act, until the walls of compassion stand strong. Now, how can gratitude accelerate the process of rebuilding? Together, gratitude is the cement that holds the new structure of life together. His Holiness Gurudev Shishya Vishanti often says, what you appreciate grows even in loss. When one thanks existence for lessons learned, energy begins to shift. Bruce Wayne in his quiet moments honored the memory of his parents. Gratitude gave him direction. Steve Jobs, reflecting on his failures, called them life's greatest teachers. In spiritual rebuilding, gratitude redirects focus from what is broken to what remains. In daily life, this can be practiced through Nadi Shuddhi, breathing, keeping a gratitude journal, or offering a silent thank you before meals and tasks. Gratitude harmonizes emotions, heals relationships, and invites space. It changes rebuilding from a struggle into a celebration, not a duty, but a divine opportunity to start anew. Now, how does the art of living perspective help us accept loss without bitterness? Like acceptance is the first step of rebuilding. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji teaches pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. When we resist loss, we stay trapped in the ruins. When we accept, the heart opens to divine redesign. Bruce Wayne accepted that his pain could either destroy him or define him. Steve Jobs accepted rejection as redirection. The art of living programs teach tools, breathing techniques, meditations, wisdom that train the nervous system to handle change gracefully. Through practices like Sudarshan Kriya, stored stress dissolves, and acceptance blossoms naturally. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation, it means aligning with reality so new possibilities can arise. It's like clearing debris before reconstruction. When the inner ground is clear, the grease can lay new foundations. How can one remain calm and centered amidst the pressures of rebuilding life or career? Then the calmness is strength. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji says, when the mind is calm, the right action dawns naturally. Bruce Wayne trained himself to stay composed in chaos. Steve Jobs cultivated mindfulness to stay innovative under pressure. The art of living tools like Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, meditation stabilize the mind and expand awareness. Calmness doesn't mean lack of action. It means acting without agitation. A calm builder rebuilds faster because he doesn't waste energy in panic. Ancient practices like Trikal Sandhya and Gayatri Japa nurture this equanimity. When one breathes with awareness, pressure transforms into precision. Thus, calmness becomes not a passive state, but a powerful strategy for consistent growth. Now, how does faith in the Guru guide the process of rebuilding? Jay, the faith is the invisible scaffolding that holds us when we can't see the next step. His Holiness Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji says, when nothing seems to work, faith works. For Bruce Wayne, Alfred's guidance was his anchor. For Steve Jobs, faith in his vision and intuition guided his return. Similarly, in the spiritual path, faith in the Guru's wisdom transforms despair into direction. Through Guru Puja, meditation, and satsang, one feels that unseen support. The Guru's grace is not outside but within. It awakens strength, clarity, and perseverance. When we lean on that presence, rebuilding becomes effortless. Every stone laid is guided by unseen hands. Every setback becomes a setup for higher growth. The faith turns ruins into temples. How can one transform fear of failure into creative energy? There, the fear is a frozen energy. Awareness melts it into creativity. Gurudev teaches that fear arises when love diminishes. So the antidote is connection. Bruce Wayne transformed fear into strength by facing it head on. Steve Jobs turned the fear of irrelevance into fuel for innovation. The art of living techniques help release fear physically and emotionally. The Bhastrika Pranayama, for example, awakens courage and vitality. When the breath is steady, the mind becomes fearless. Spiritual practices remind us that we are instrument of a larger intelligence. When we surrender, fear loses grip. Once fear is dissolved, energy becomes dynamic, ideas flow, and rebuilding becomes joyful. Now, what is the ultimate message of rebuilding brick by brick through the wisdom of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji? Jagadev, the ultimate message is that life's purpose is evolution, not perfection. Every destruction carries a seed of renewal. Gurudev's vision through sadhana, seva, and satsang teaches us that even when everything seems lost, the spirit remains untouched, luminous, and indestructible. Bruce Wayne's mansion was rebuilt stronger than before. Steve Jobs' comeback created one of the world's greatest innovations. Likewise, every seeker can rebuild their world with the bricks of devotion, awareness, and service. Each breath is a new chance, each sunrise is a new and fresh blueprint. When guided by the light of wisdom and the grace of the Guru, no fall is final. Every ending is the beginning of a grander creation. Life, like Wayne Manor, can always be rebuilt brick by brick, breath by breath, and heart by heart, Jai Gurudev.